Okay, need to edit that first part. Okay, no problem.
All right.
Okay, let's get started. So, hello, I'm Mika Tienhara, and this is my See Beyond podcast. And today I have as guest Sandy Munro out of Michigan, Auburn Hills today, right? And Sandy, I've known him for a few years, took him to Norway. We did a small road trip. And I got you to some events. We looked at manufacturing, etc. But Sandy, you're a true innovator. I mean, all the things you've done in your career and still doing. I mean, lean design, coming up with, let's say, so many new products or product designs, from what I understand, from Barbie dolls to space shuttles, a lot into the automotive side, right? And I think that's so much to tap into from your knowledge as such, and of course lean design and all that I think is so crucial also today. So I don't know if you want to add something to that, Sandy, but I'm very honored to have you here on this podcast today.
Well, I'm very, very happy to be here with you, Micah. And yes, you did give me a wonderful tour of Norway, or at least where we were, and looking at the ski slope that I can't. I almost peed my pants looking at the ski slope. I can't imagine being at the top, looking down, and then actually pushing myself over the edge. So I was happy to see that. I was happy to be in Norway. We got a chance to eat some fabulous food. Everything was wonderful. I'm a very happy guy to have met you and actually had the chance to come to Norway. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I mean, we had a small road trip in an EV, but actually
Yes.
recently you had kind of an epic road trip yourself. You're, let's say, became a user of an EV, did your road trip going to California and Texas, meeting with Tesla owners, meeting a lot of other entrepreneurs and innovators. I mean, if you now reflect on this trip, it's a few weeks back. I mean, what did you learn from this whole trip as such?
I think the first thing I learned was that all the razzle dazzle about range anxiety is incorrect. At least in a Tesla. We typed in, Los Angeles, hit the button, and away we went. And the map, it was mapped out for us with the shortest possible route, and all of the different supercharger stations were popped up on the map, and it pointed, basically, it knew how much we had, and knew where we wanted to go. And it gave us the most logical spots to stop to get charged. And that's quite a long ways from Detroit to Los Angeles. And all that whole way, we had no problem whatsoever. And then the longer version was from Eugene, Oregon, down to Brownsville to meet with Mr. Musk. That only had one really tricky long distance thing when we went through the desert, and that's a long ways. That's like 350 miles or something like that, and there's no chargers in between. That's the only time that we thought that there may be a problem. And by the way, at the time we were trying to outrun a blizzard. There was a huge blizzard. Actually, when we left Eugene, Oregon, the car mapped out a different route. Had we taken the old route, we would have never made it to Brownsville. Never. We would have been caught in a blizzard. But it mapped us getting through the mountains like really quickly and then heading south. Now, if we would have taken the other route, there would have been more charging stations, but we would never have gotten there. So the onboard computer mapped us out a route that basically worked well for us. So we left Eugene, and 2 hours after we left, the pass we went through had 110 inches. So that's, what would that be? That would be like, let me think, I'm losing my mind. It's been So that would be almost 12 meters of snow.
Yeah.
That's
Amazing.
a lot of
Wow.
snow.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
so anyway, we got through that, and the blizzard was in back of us the whole way. At its farthest point, it was about an hour and a half in back of us, and its nearest point, 45 minutes. And that's when we got to Reno. And that was on the one and only part that had to have three of like the maximum amount of charge. And we arrived in Reno with 12 miles to spare, but it went into a limp mode as well to make sure that we would make it, which we didn't know about. So when we got to Reno, we charged up 80%, which happens very quickly, like maybe 15 minutes or so. So we had enough time to run to the restroom and get something to eat, and then get out. So for me, the big thing on range anxiety is just nothing but rubbish. And as far as superchargers are concerned, the Tesla chargers, no problem. These guys have got them mapped out across the United States. We went around 8,000 miles and 15,000 kilometers about. 8,000 miles and no problem whatsoever, none. We did this the whole trip in 11 days. So most of the time we were driving and sleeping at the same. So Corey would drive, I'd sleep, other way around, and no problem. Everything went smooth. It's very, very smooth. No problem at all. So yeah. And by the way, the seats are phenomenal. If there's anybody out there that's benchmarking seats, get a hold of the Tesla Model 3 seats and benchmark those. I have no idea how, but I wound up with no back pain whatsoever. You get out, you walk around, you feel great. And I slept in it as well. That seat is definitely world class, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, because you do. I forgot to say that. I mean, you have your benchmarking center and you do a lot of teardowns of cars, of course. Yes. So maybe this was another aspect of it. I mean, actually using the vehicle or the product for such a long time, but doing your teardowns, etc. I mean, now you see a lot of good things there in terms of the seats, etc. Maybe you wouldn't, of course, notice that if you just did a technical teardown as such. But what do you think about the let's say the future of let's say cars, etc.? I mean, is EVs the way to go now, also for America?
I don't think that there's anything you can do except EVs. If you look at all of the, I've rearranged, like at your presentation in 2019 in November, I think, I said that the ice age would end in 2030. And now, after all the new government regulations and talking to all the different car companies, I'm saying 2028. It's happening very, very, very quickly. People who think that the ice age is here to stay, they're in deep trouble. They're 100% as wrong as you can possibly be. So I think that anybody that thinks that somehow we're going to go back to the good old days of gasoline engines, I think that they're Luddites. The people who tried to ruin the Industrial Revolution. It didn't work out well for them, and they got the term Luddites because they didn't quite come along with the rest of the world. I believe that that's where we are right now. There are still people that say that there's no problem, but those people either don't know science or maybe just don't look outside. But I can guarantee you that Volkswagen, GM, Toyota, Hyundai, all kinds of Chinese companies, they're all on board and they're all moving very, very quickly. Not just Tesla.
No, I mean, it's like, GM announced they're going 100% electric. Jaguar in Europe said the same. Yeah. So, I think that's the trend. And what was it? Porsche said that for their existing fleet, okay, they will also provide synthetic fuels, etc. So, it's quickly going that carbon neutral path, actually.
Yeah.
So That's really interesting. And what about, I mean, all this fuss and talk about hydrogen? Is that anything on transportation side you think will actually evolve?
Yes, I think that with hydrogen, what we're looking at here is the number one product for hydrogen, as far as I'm concerned, the thing that we should be getting into right now are large overland trucks. So what we would classify as a Class 8 truck here, or a double Class 8, so it has a tandem carrying capability, or what they call in Australia truck trains. Those things are perfect candidates for going to a hydrogen fuel cell and hydrogen as a fuel. And the reason for that is because, first off, it's going to take less weight to ship the hydrogen. Not because hydrogen is lighter than air, but because hydrogen has more BTUs than gasoline or diesel fuel, for that matter. So I believe that that's going to be one thing. The other thing is filling up a diesel's tanks takes 15 or 20 minutes, depending on how big the tanks are, of course, but normally that's about what a trucker will figure. But with hydrogen bottles, you'll pull up, the bottles will be ejected from the vehicle. And by the way, when that happens, you'll be running on battery. It still will have a battery. Mm-hmm. Then the bottles will be ejected, they'll shift, another set of bottles will be shoved in, and you're probably looking at a 2 to 3 minute cycle time for filling up, and then the trucker can get on his way. I think that that's kind of like what's going to make truckers happy. To say that we're going to go to battery systems on a truck is idiotic, because truckers need to make money, and they make money based on the weight of the truck plus the weight of their load. And when that weight is circumvented by a huge number of batteries, only I don't want to say a fool, so I'll say something else. I'll say only someone who's naive to think that a trucker is going to go for that would believe it. So I believe that that's the first best place for hydrogen. Second is VTOLs, vertical takeoff and landing machines, for two reasons. One, if you're going to use something that goes up in the air and flies around, you're going to know well in advance where your next filling station is. So you pop up from wherever you are, you go to that filling station, and again, this should be auto eject and auto accept to put your hydrogen bottles in. I believe, sincerely believe, that this is going to be the true way to go for anyone who's got the money. These will be more expensive than an electric vehicle, but they'll be a lot faster and a lot more convenient. No expressway stuff. So if you're in Paris or London or Rome and you need to get from here to there, it's going to happen like practically instantly. And I've been in traffic jams in Los Angeles, which are disgustingly horrible. But I've also been in the same sort of a scenario in England, where a great big giant roundabout gets a small accident, and you're stuck there for hours and hours, or worse yet, you happen to be on one of the feeder roads into a traffic circle, and you can't get in, period. It's not, no one's going to let you in. So personally, I'm betting solidly on VTOLs for people who are in a hurry. So executives and whatnot that have to get from point A to point B within, say, 150 to 300 miles, they're going to want to go on a VTOL. Everybody else, I think, will be looking at either an electric truck or an electric car of some sort to get around. And I think it's going to happen lots faster than everybody is thinking it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that's thank you. I think that's what we see with innovation also, that it's speeding up, and really interesting to hear that. I mean, in a sense, cutting out time waste here. But
yes,
so
time is that's
yeah.
going to be that's going to be the really big commodity is time. Nobody's got time anymore. My days are, sorry, just trying to get some water here. My days are getting filled up faster and faster, and I find myself continuously, looking at my watch and say, "Oh my God, it's noon. Oh my God, it's 5. Oh my God, it's 7. Oh my God, it's 10." I mean, my days fly by nowadays. I mean, it's when I was a kid. I mean, when I was young, when I was a teenager or whatever, everything dragged by. I had no, I couldn't believe that, you look at, oh, I just looked at my watch 5 minutes ago. Oh, it's been 10 minutes, that kind of stuff. Now I see everything going too quickly. And when I have to go somewhere, I'm very impatient now, especially if it's something like intercity travel, going to Chicago or something. With a VTOL, I know I could get there wicked fast. And I wouldn't have to go into Chicago and around this. I could go directly to where I want to go. And that's going to be very appealing to a lot of people, myself included. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we don't want to go back to those old days then. Life was boring, or maybe not boring, but at least
A lot slower. Yeah.
a lot
I
slower.
don't
Yeah.
think it's
And it
possible.
would speed
Yeah.
up, continue to speed up. So, of course, I'm thinking also if we turn to, let's say, the manufacturing side. I mean, you come up with so many, let's say, product and production systems, build factories, etc. And if we talk about innovation in manufacturing, I mean, what do we see there? I mean, is it many talk about all the digitalization and the digital tools? I mean, is that the right way to go, or is that anything novel with it, or is it more into additive manufacturing, or what's your take on this?
Personally, I think that everything right now is up for grabs. We've seen some amazing new electronics type of manufacturing systems. And unfortunately, I can't talk too much about that, but just imagine a circuit boards coming off the end of a conveyor belt, one after another, and you're looking at 15 or 20 seconds a pop in between. So they're moving very, very quickly. These are really sophisticated boards. At one end, it starts out as a substrate, and at the other end, it's a finished, completed, and fully functional board. This kind of stuff is when I saw the presentation, at first I thought it was just trickery, but really and truly, it was a real board. And so I think we're going to see much more of that sort of process for the electronic boards. I see, actually, the office I'm in right now, I think I mentioned we bought a new building on Friday.
Oh yes,
Or
yeah,
I
congrats.
did. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, my wife is my my poor wife is really nervous, but anyway, I think it was the right thing to do, and so the room that I'm in was originally supposed to be for a an additive manufacturing system. We were going to make fuel heaters for basically private jets, and it all went away with COVID and whatnot. So we've had a lot of expansion. People needed offices up in the front, so I moved out of that. I moved into the shop. That didn't really work out well, and so now I'm in this concrete bunker. And it literally is. So the walls are all basically cement blocks. The ceiling is made out of concrete. They put in some lights for me yesterday or on the weekend, and I've been in here basically. One guy gave me one of those hats that a miner wears and stuff. Yeah, with a light on it, because that's what I'm. But this is what you do if you're growing. You just shrug it off and away you go. But I think that with the new building that we bought, this is about 900 square meters, and so this building is 4,700 square meters, and the other building's 80,000, or sorry, 8,000 square meters. So they're quite big. This one is small by comparison. So I think by taking that and putting the one group, the defense group, in there, they'll be happy, and that'll get me out of here. And then I'm probably going to go back and see if we can still get into the additive manufacturing world. And this is a perfect spot for it. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I recall when we talked. It's about a year ago. I mean, I kind of sense you're optimist now also. I mean, expanding and let's say taking that risk, but business is always a risk, of course. But do you think this, let's say, last year, the pandemic, I mean, how is that shaping up business now? I mean, why do you think you have the right timing now to expand and move ahead like this?
Well, from about March to the end of July, I pretty much figured I was going to be bankrupt if I didn't do something different. We got the Tesla vehicle and we started the YouTube channel, and that did we got remarkably well recognized on there, and a lot of people were happy because they got a chance to see the type of like how a car is manufactured and whatnot. I had no idea that sometimes if you get into a situation where, you know, you've been doing things for a long, long time and you don't realize that other people have no idea how or what you do. My mother, unfortunately, never knew what I was doing, ever. When I was picking apples as a farmer or picking walnuts or cutting grass or something, then that was something she could grasp. She came from a farm. She understood that. When I became a tool maker, she understood that. That was big stuff. Tool maker in her eyes was a tradesman. That's good. Then I went into engineering, and then the conversations pretty much ended. What do you mean? They pay you to draw pictures? They pay you to draw pictures? I mean, that concept never went anywhere. Then I went to Ford, and that was good. She wanted to know why I wasn't selling cars, because in her mind, cars showed up. There was like a car Easter egg, you know, or something. It showed up, and then she knew people built them, but that was like worker kind of people. And my brother was on that kind of a job, but she couldn't understand what an engineer would be needed as far as a car was concerned. And so our relationship with discussing my work got, you know, kind of like stretched. And then the ultimate, I started my own company. She was nervous all the time, and I was showing up on TV. She, I think my sister or my brother took her picture. She was sitting in front of the television set. She had her robe on. She had a blanket over the top of her. And this is in the summertime, but she got really nervous and she'd get chilly. And she had her little puppy dog that was sitting with her, and her and Puppy, she's petting Puppy, watching me on TV, waiting for me to make a huge mistake. And they say, "That is incorrect, get out." This kind of thing. She got all done, and she had to go straight to bed. It scared the daylights out of her. So I never told her when I was on TV anymore. So that kind of thing, that's the extreme end. But I think that most people have no idea what's going on inside their vehicle. They know that it goes from here to there and that kind of thing, but they don't know anything else about what's going on. And I think that our little YouTube channel made a big difference for them. They got a chance to see the car that they were driving, and they got a chance to find out what was the truth about what's going on inside of the Tesla Model Y, which is the one we tore to pieces. So, and now it's taken on a life of its own. That's where a lot of my time goes, is making these little vignettes and whatnot for YouTube. So.
But I mean, that's a fantastic example. I mean, showing both the digital tools, I mean, connectivity, YouTube, etc. And I think, of course, if you want to know how a car works, for instance, I mean, you have to, if you think the old days, I mean, you can go to a car manufacturer, do the tour, see some parts of it. But I mean, you have to be genuinely interested in that sense to learn this. But I think how you kind of reach out to people that you can watch the Munro live and see so much, let's say, goodie in your videos there and learn so much. So I think that's kind of bringing out the popular science or just basic things to understand it better. So I think that's fantastic in that sense. So and of course, if you talk, I mean, I love, like, once you told me about that when you did the Dodge Viper concept, etc., in manufacturing. That's a fabulous story. But of course, also what I mean, I'm working with startup companies, and my company now, I mean, we're also ramping up and scaling up in terms of manufacturing, and of course that's kind of going through all these ramping up issues and kind of production hell in that sense. But it kind of seems like you solve one problem and then you step into the next few ones, because it opens up more doors of problems. But is there any golden recipe to minimize this type of pains, or any learning from your side?
Well, the best way is to simulate or emulate the product before you start buying and investing in different machines and whatnot. So that's kind of like what we really do for a living. So when we do a new product development, like we've got 3 cars on the floor, we have a couple of military kinds of things that we're doing in new product, and then we have existing products that are they need to be redone. So we take and look at these things and we put them into our software, and it doesn't matter whether it's a hand sketch or CAD drawings, early CAD drawings, or finished CAD drawings, or if we look at the existing product that they've got. First thing we do is we put it into the software and then look at, how do we reduce cost? How do we reduce waste? How do we reduce the number of parts? How do we make it easier for the operator to put it together? What kind of machines are we going to be buying? And you do this all way up front. And if you do that, then what I used to call lowering the lake. So here's the thing. When you if you again, going back to being on a farm, every once in a while a pond would get out of control. Okay, so water wants to get to where it wants to get to. A lot of times you need that water for basically watering the field, making sure that the crops grow. So what you do is you lower the lake. You lower the lake, and unfortunately, when you lower the lake, you're gonna see that rocks appear, and lowering the lake means, oh, well, let's get rid of that rock, and let's get rid of this rock, and and that's kind of like what you do if you don't have a good plan initially. You run around like you're in a raft or a rowboat trying to pull out those rocks that keep getting in your way. That's what Elon Musk called manufacturing hell. And quite frankly, we don't get that. When we've designed products, regardless of whether it's an airplane or a rocket ship or a car or what have you, those things that would normally show up like lowering the lake for everybody else, they don't happen. So in the case of one vehicle, like you mentioned, the Viper, ramp up on that was like 2 days. It was simple because we already knew how everything was going to go together. And this is not just like we built a prototype, so we knew that. We knew that because we knew where all the wrenches were going to be, where all the parts were going to be. We knew that the operator could do it in this amount of time. All this stuff can be calculated long before you have a product. So these kinds of things are what we do for our customers, and that's why we still have our first customer. We have never lost a customer ever, never. We've never had one walk away. They always hang around, and they're not with us all the time because they only call us when they've got another new product to develop. But they know that if they get us or they use our software, then they're going to get exactly what they want. And what they want is rapid deployment. They want to make sure that the product that they develop is going to be able to hit the market on time, at cost, and at the right time, at the time that the customer needs it. So that's kind of the difference between us and them. Now, have we ever walked into factories that didn't do things that way? Well, yeah. And we know a lot of manufacturing tricks to get around it. So workarounds are one of the other things that we do. And in fact, we were just talking about this a little while ago, but we had a candy company, Necco, and they could not get enough sugar. Everything's measured in sugar. They couldn't get, I can't remember the exact numbers, but let's say they wanted to hit 100 tons a day, and they were only getting about 65 or 70 tons a day. And we went in and we brought them up to 120 tons, and we did that in a really short period of time. I think it was like 3 months. And they were thrilled, okay? They were happy as a clam. They got better than what they thought. So what were the magic tricks? Well, they're all the magic tricks that we've seen over the years. So conveying systems, their conveyors were lousy. For a really small amount of money, we took and got rid of their conveyor systems, and in essence, for one line, we just had the machine shop make them. We ordered the bits and pieces, they showed up, and there you go. Another thing that's really simple is you watch the operator and you watch how they're doing what they're doing. Sometimes they don't do it correctly. Sometimes no one's ever trained them. Sometimes there's no process sheets. So by going in and doing that sort of thing, you can make things a lot easier. And then shortages on the assembly line. These are things that stuff just happens sometimes when you've got an old. This plant was quite old, and sometimes things just happen, right? This machine was moved, that machine was put in its place, and now you've got guys walking around pushing product for miles in little tiny carts. Well, that doesn't work real well. So squeezing things together and using the Toyota production system, which we're very familiar with. So using that sort of stuff, and all of a sudden waste goes away. And that's kind of what we've done in many cases with many different types of industries. So we did that for aircraft, candies. Obviously, we did it for cars and motorcycles, but pretty much any type of a product. Farm equipment, we have a very successful story about a plant for John Deere, where they went from 2 warehouses and 2 machine shops down to 1 building. And the 1 building turned out to be, because I kept asking, why are you storing these in this building? What earthly reason would this be? Well, we have to wait until we get an order. Really? Well, we didn't do that. We shipped early and did what car people do. So that got rid of 2 warehouses. And the 1 machine shop was loaded up with stuff that, I mean, they made parts for what's the name of that a company that turned into John Deere. Like, it's from the early 1900s or something, a Farm Boy or something. I can't remember the name of it. Well, why have you got these machines here? Well, that's the only ones that can do that. I said, that's baloney. That's and so a whole factory just vanished. And not only that, we made a tremendous amount of money because it was loaded. I mean, loaded with spare parts that all these guys that want to rebuild steam engines and stuff like that. We sold all that stuff. It all went. And machines that were really ancient, people were buying them up and putting them into museums where they belonged. I mean, they're a nice, safe place to. Who's going to buy a belt-driven lathe? Nobody I know of. So. So all the stuff vanished. We made some money, and got rid of a bunch of assets that they didn't need. So all the stuff is what happens when you walk in with a I don't know, innovation type of mindset. Yeah.
I think, like, I mean, it's great to hear, and of course use your senses. I mean, observe, listen,
Yes.
and see what actually goes on to take out all the waste in that sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
really good. I think that's a great philosophy. Also, what you're doing there in terms of turning around concepts and using your fantastic software and simulation tools there. What you showed me too. If we look a bit into the future, then I mean, in terms of future skills and workforce, I mean, no one knows for sure, but in your opinion, I mean, what should the young generation look at? I mean, what do they need in terms of educational or side or type of skills they should?
Well, let me tell you what the number one problem with industry, actually, not just industry, but the whole of North America, there are no tradesmen, none.
We see the same in
school,
Norway or here in Nordics countries too. Yeah.
It's unbelievable, but in all grade schools, children start to get taught at kindergarten that working for a living is stupid and evil, and somehow you're all going to be working in a nice, clean office, or you're working from home, and or you're going to be a salesperson or something. And so consequently, young kids never ever even think that being a tradesman or being in manufacturing is a good idea, because that's just dirty. Well, I used to give talks at high schools. I don't do it anymore at all, because I found that unfortunately that the kids aren't really interested. If you talk to someone who's in grade 12 and about to make the decision to go to college, go into the workforce, or go to university, they're already brainwashed. So I used to start it off and I'd say, how many people here are going to be professional athletes? Stick up your hand. So we got a grade 12 class, and it's probably got, I don't know, 200, 250 people are in the audience. Well, all these hands shoot up, right? And I said, and I'll point at them. What are you going to? Oh, I'm going to be a baseball player. Oh, I'm going to be playing football. Oh, I've got a hockey scholarship. Oh, good, excellent. So, any of you in the arts? Anybody in the arts? And a whole bunch of hands go up. And you say, so what are you going to? Oh, well, I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to be a dancer. Really? Oh, I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. And I said, okay, so that's great. So how many of you are going to be plumbers? No hands go up. How many of you are going to be electricians? No hands go up. How many of you are going to be in the trades, like a skill trade, like a tinsmith or machine repair or a tool maker? No hands go up. And the last time I didn't start laughing, but then I said, okay, let me tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret right now. None of you guys that put your hand up to be an athlete, none of you are going to make it. None of you. You're not tall enough. You're not strong enough. You're not heavy enough, and you're not tough enough, period. You're not going to make it. And then my son went to Andrew Lloyd Webber School, free, because he had that much talent. He's a fabulous singer, excellent actor, can memorize anything. He's got a wizard brain. Never made it. He never made it in acting, because there's rules and regulations that don't have anything to do with talent in order to get jobs. And he wasn't going to strip his morals away. So consequently, he did not get a job. And then I said, my favorite, I said, what are the chances that you, as an actor, singer, dancer, whatever, are going to be able to make $50,000 for 7 years in a row? And they all hate me by now. Oh, go ahead and tell us, you know? So I said, your chances is 1 in 42 million. So I said, let's put that into perspective, because there are 42 million women on the pill in the United States at any given point in time. You have the same amount of chances as all the women you know that are on the pill. Only you're going to get one chance. Oh, that can't be correct. Oh, yes, it is. And don't tell me, because I like to think of myself as a mathematician and I bring this stuff out. And then I said, bring out the board. And I bring the board out and I said, this is all of the data that I've gathered up, all of the data. And I said, oh, and by the way, my cousin Patrick, guess what? He's a producer director at Universal Studios, and he knows everybody in the business, and on and on and on. I tell Sylvester Stallone stories and whatnot. Anyways, I say, here's all the stuff that I got, and here's what you think, and this is what your teachers have told you. And you know what? They don't give a shit about you at all. They don't care. There's going to be another band of you morons coming in next year. You better wake up and blah, blah. So say I had 250 people in the audience. 200 of them hate my guts and will never talk to me. And if they see me on the street, they'll cross the street. Okay. 25 of those people are going to go home and complain to their parents, and they'll complain enough that they'll say, never bring this clown back in. 12 of the people that were in the audience went home and said, do you think that my teacher could be lying to me? And I got 10, I don't know what happened to everything, but I got 10 people that wrote me a note or sent me an email and said, I'd like to get into the trades. I'd like to do this, that, or the next thing. And for those 10 out of the 250 that was in there, they'll probably have a good life. And the other ones, they may be squeegeeing your windows and hoping that you'll give them a quarter. Okay. There's a lot of dancing that can be done. Some of it's in Hollywood. A lot of it is in in the red light district. So at the end of the day, I really think that teachers have to be told that not everybody is going to be a lawyer and a doctor, or they're not going to be a nurse, or they're not going to be whatever. There's a real significant problem with the trades, and we are losing quickly to that. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to be starting to import them in the United States. What's his name? Trump. He tried to get things going with training people into the trades and whatnot. Biden is going to import them. He's going to bring them in from Mexico and some of the other countries that what's his name? Trump probably blocked. But I know that this is a gigantic problem in the United States and Canada. In Germany, who would have ever thought that they'd run out of tradesmen in Germany? I mean, it's in China, it's in Japan, it's in Korea, it's everywhere. Everyone thinks that somehow they're going to get some job that doesn't tax them at all, and they're going to be able to live the life of Riley, never getting out of their pajamas. That's the other thing. How about this? I mean, people are coming in, they want to know if they can come to work in their pajamas. They're not getting a job at Monroe. I'm not hiring somebody to come in their pajamas.
That's to go a bit too far. But I mean, I think, of course, maybe we kind of moved so much into software and digitalization and all that stuff, and manufacturing has been going offshore, etc. But it's time to kind of bring back also those, let's say, trade skill, or and of course maybe that's something for, let's say, Munro Live to do more videos like that. What does it mean to be a plumber, or how do you actually build a car, or what type of skills do you need? But that might be for another time. I think it's been tremendous to just have this type of discussion with you, Sandy, as always, actually, and talking about EVs and future skills, digitalization or not, etc. Any final words from your side before we wrap up?
I think we're in an exciting time. I wish I was young again, because and this is basically the only time in my life that I have wished that, because I see so many things that are going to come to fruition quickly that basically just haven't been available to us. But now I mean, we're in one of these kind of ages where everything's happening all at once. If you think back to the turn of the century in the 1900s, airplanes came about, cars came about, ships that defied the laws of man and physics came about. Trains came about. All kinds of things happened in the first couple of decades between, say, the 1890s and the 1920s. It was a phenomenal time to be alive. Yeah. Phenomenal. I think that's what we're in right now. We're in the same sort of a deal where the opportunities are astounding. I mean, there's opportunities everywhere. And all we have to do really is to think about the possibilities. Think of the possibilities. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, no, I think that's great. And it's so much happening. Thank you for sharing that. And I really agree with you. But I think you're getting younger every day, Sandy.
So actually, no. I looked in the mirror when I was shaving, and I'm not getting younger.
Okay. I'll tell you, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and yeah, thanks for sharing all your profound knowledge in that sense, Sandy. I'm looking forward to see you in person again, and maybe let's say maybe 2022 we could do a road trip in the Nordic countries. Look at all the new battery plants popping up here. So much happening here too. Definitely. So thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Micah. Thank you very much. Thank you.